Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to my daily and final Instagram Live / YouTube, depending on which platform you're watching this on. We are studying the book of Deuteronomy, and we are on the very final chapter, 34. This is a very short chapter, of course. The finale, grand finale. And I first want to preface it with saying that this chapter is the only chapter of Deuteronomy that it is said to have not been written by Moses. As those of you that have been joining in on this series know, Moses is the alleged author of the book of Deuteronomy. So for this last chapter to not be written by him, you will know why in a second. So, without further ado, let us get started. So I'm going to just simply read this chapter because it's short, so we might as well read it together. For those that didn't read it before, no worries. So it says, verse 1, Then Moses climbed Mount Nebo from the plains of Moab to the top of Pisgah, across from Jericho. There the Lord showed him the whole land, from Gilead to Dan, all the Naphtali, the territory of Ephraim, and Manasseh, all the land of Judah, as far as the Mediterranean Sea, the Negev, and the whole region from the valley of Jericho, the city of palms, as far as Zoar. Then the Lord said to him, This is the land I promised an oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when I said, I will give it to your descendants. I will let you see it with your eyes, but you will not cross over into it. And Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in Moab, as the Lord had said. He buried him in Moab in the valley opposite Beth Peor. But to this day, no one knows where his grave is. Moses was 120 years old when he died, yet his eyes were not weak, nor his strength gone. The Israelites grieved for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days, until the time of weeping and mourning was over. Now Joshua, son of Nun, was filled with the spirit of wisdom because Moses had laid his hands on him. So the Israelites listened to him and did what the Lord had commanded Moses. Since then, no prophet has risen in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, whom did all those signs and wonders the Lord sent him to do in Egypt, the Pharaoh and all his officials, and to his whole land. For no one has ever shown the mighty power or performed the awesome deeds that Moses did in the sight of all Israel. And that is it for chapter 34. I found interesting the part where it was talking about, first of all, it did definitely bring up that Moses was 120 years old, but that he had no weakness. He didn't have no strength that was missing. His eyes were fine. So basically they're saying it's not that he died of natural causes, it's that he died because he was bound to die, because he was not able to cross over into the promised land, because he was disobedient to God in that one instance of the rock. So I found that interesting. I also found it interesting that it talked about the body, and it said that God buried him, which, why that is so interesting is because to this day, no one knows where Moses' body is. So you mean to tell me that a very strong leader that a lot of people looked up to, and there's so many accounts of Moses in history, that not one person has uncovered his body yet? That kind of says, does God have his body for safekeeping? Where is his body? So I took it a step further and read the study Bible, and it gave us a note to say that Moses' body was actually argued about by Michael and Satan in Jude. So if you go to Jude Jude 1st, 9. It says, "But even the archangel Michael, when he was disputing with the devil about the body of Moses, did not dare to condemn him for slander, but said, 'The Lord rebuke you.'" So it does mention that the body is probably somewhere where humans can't access it, but maybe the angels or the fallen angels can. Pretty interesting. But okay, other than that, I think it's an ending that we had all seen coming. We knew that Moses wasn't going to cross over into the promised land. However, God did say that he was going to at least see it from a bird's eye view, which he did. God allowed him to do that. The views. I mean, I could imagine how beautiful that view was, to say the least. And at least Moses was able to see where they're going to be going, rather than it just being this big mystery. So even though he didn't get to necessarily cross over, he got to experience the sight of it. So, other than that, what do you guys think? I'm going to open up the discussion to the comments section. This is concluding our Deuteronomy series. So if there's any final thoughts that you guys would like to add, now would be the time. And what was the promised land, America? No. So the promised land was Israel. So like modern day Jerusalem, basically where Jesus was born. Bethlehem, Jerusalem, that area. Only God knows the place. Something to think about. Why were they arguing? Yeah, definitely. Why were they arguing about the body of Moses? I guess we'll have to keep on reading different books of the Bible to find out why. There's so many mysteries that don't start to make sense until you get deeper into the book. This is just the surface. Definitely not the surface. Deuteronomy is deep, but I mean, it's the 5th book, so there's still a bunch more to go. What about Daniel, Michael, and Gabriel? I just didn't mention them. The dispute wasn't about them. BP Amelia says, except for Satan and the angels, they found his body. So yeah, that kind of was what we were talking about in Jude. So I guess that is correct. They did find his body, and they are arguing over it for some reason. I don't want to confuse you guys because I did not read, well, I read Jude a long time ago, but I just don't remember it. So I don't want to, talk about something that's out of context. But that was just, if you want to go to Jude, it is, there's only one chapter, so you can't miss it. Oops. Do you get nightmares from reading? No, I have not. I feel like if any book would have gave me nightmares, it would have probably been Enoch. But no, I didn't have any nightmares. Okay. Okay, let me scroll all the way down. Sometimes I like to scroll up just to see if I missed anything, but I really think you should filter your chat If that was a possible option, I absolutely would. But I don't know how to do that. Do I like the book of Romans? We actually did a series on the book of Romans. It was a good read. I think that it was important for everybody here, just because it basically is preaching that salvation is for everybody. So yeah, it was good. If we want to understand, you have to meditate and ask for understanding. I definitely agree about that. Oh, you're talking about Jude. It was about why Moses have the knowledge and they didn't get the knowledge. Is that what the argument was about? Then why were they arguing about his body? What does his body have to do with his knowledge or his favor, so to speak? You know what's interesting about what you're saying is that in the book of Enoch, it was saying how, and mind you guys, you guys can have different belief systems or whatever. I do these theories because I want to explore different books. So I'm not saying that the book of Enoch is law or it's factual or whatever. You know, we explored it to see how consistent it was with the Bible and whatnot. So take that with what you will. But what I did find interesting about the book of Enoch was it was saying that God did give the angels knowledge about things. However, it's kind of like he was 10 steps ahead of them because he knew that there was going to be some angels that fell, Satan included. So obviously, God knows all. So of course he's going to know that even his messengers or his, right-hand men, what they're going to do later on when they're given positions of power and whatnot. So it said that he gave them knowledge, but he did not give them all of it. And they, of course, with their egos, took what they had and ran with it thinking that they had it all. And when they realized that there was so much that God was keeping from them, that's when, it kind of humbled them, I guess you could say. But, yeah, pretty interesting. What do you think about Revelations? We're not talking about Revelations right now. We're talking about Deuteronomy. Do you think Numbers and Deuteronomy should be read together? That is a good question. I think so. Well, what I can say also is it's very repetitive. So Deuteronomy echoes Numbers a lot. So I feel like even if you don't read it together, you're going to read it together, if you know what I'm saying. It's just like a lot of what is in Numbers, you're going to read it again when you get to Deuteronomy. So if you want to read it simultaneously, then by all means, that would make sense. And let me just take one person. You can kick some people out. I participated in other live studies where the host just blocks. Yeah, unfortunately, there are the majority of the chat, so it would be very distracting to do that. Okay, any last words? Okay, I think that's it. All right, guys. So thank you guys for tuning into the series. We've been at it for about 2 months or so, with a couple interruptions here and there, but we were able to get through it. So I'm definitely proud of us. And it wasn't necessarily the easiest series. This was a very heavy book, to say the least. So for those of you that have been tuned in from the beginning of this series, I thank you. Just as I make the sacrifice to tune in, to do these series, it wouldn't be as successful as it is if you guys weren't continuously participating and feeding into the chat and, us bouncing ideas off of each other and whatnot. I think that's really what makes these series special. So thank you guys. And for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, don't worry, there will be another series coming soon. I have yet to decide which book I'm going to explore yet. That usually takes a little time for me to process. But if this is something that you are interested in and you're upset because you missed it, I post all of the recaps onto my YouTube page. So my YouTube not only has the Deuteronomy series, but it also has the Roman series and the Esther series. So feel free to check that out. And then the next series to be determined. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys for the next series. Ciao.